Let's bring in my good friend Jim Kaat. He's doing the game tonight on the Major League Baseball Network, the game being the Yankees and the Red Sox. And, Jim, it's Michael and Don. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
All right, now, if you're the Red Sox, Jim, I mean, how down is this team? How down are the Ortiz and the Pedroias, who are used to playing important games all the time, and now you kind of had the rug pulled out from under you?
Well, there's certainly a shock factor. I was just down visiting with John Farrell, and I said, I cringe when I hear, and I'm a little too old-fashioned, I think, for the game, but I cringe when I hear the word pieces used, which is so popular today, because, players are really people, and they have feelings, and they have families, and just like you said, Pedroia and Ortiz, they're used to playing on winning teams, and now a lot of their good friends are gone, but I think once the shock is over, I think they're going to realize that this might be the best for building another winning team in the future. Because if you analyze all the trades, we never know how they're all going to come out, but it seems like they came out pretty good.
Now, Jim, there's something that goes through the Red Sox clubhouse, but what about the Rays clubhouse? This was a team that was in it. This was a team that didn't win a championship last year like the Red Sox. How does Joe Maddon sell to his team, oh, by the way, we're still in this thing, guys, despite the fact that the organization traded away our best player?
Well, the point you bring up, and again, this is an old-fashioned viewpoint of mine that I have felt strongly about for years, but it always falls on deaf ears. And finally, John Farrell kind of agreed with me. I think that the trading deadline at this particular time of the season is absolutely ridiculous. I think it ought to be June 1st. I think that teams should be forced to use the assets in their own organization for the rest of the year, maybe activate some players from the minors by September 1st for postseason play or whatever. But it's such a distraction, and I'll give you an example. I went around today asking people, hey, did you see the game Kershaw pitched last night? I mean, it's like nobody even knows the battle that they had out in L.A. with Teheran and Kershaw, and Kershaw comes within 1 out of another complete game shutout. It's such a distraction this time of the year. I wish it would go away.
Since it did take place, though, the two teams that got the two big pitchers, the A's and the Tigers, which team do you think is better now, Jim?
Well, I'd have to say the Tigers have certainly demoralized Kansas City and Chicago and anybody else. But the interesting thing is that the trade seemed to be made by saying, well, it's going to be a big Oakland and Detroit matchup. The final matchup in the American League Championship Series could well be the A's and the Angels. The A's could end up playing Baltimore. The Tigers could play the Angels. And quite frankly, I think the Tigers would rather play the division winner if it's Baltimore than play the wild card winner in the Angels. Right now, they seem to be the two best teams. So, they both might come out okay, Oakland and Detroit.
Billy Beane's defense of not winning in the postseason is that it's a crapshoot. Do you buy into that? Do you believe that it's sometimes just the luck of the draw when you get to the playoffs?
I don't know if it's the luck of the draw. I think it's who has the strongest pitching, and I think that's why Billy Beane did what he did. In a short series, when you've got a Verlander and a Scherzer, and now you add Lester, I mean, with all due respect to the A's pitchers, I don't think they match up with those three. And then when you look at the National League and you throw Greinke, and I know that drill because I happened to hook up with Sandy Koufax 3 times in the 65 series, and I know what one pitcher can do, let alone two. So I don't think it's as much of a luck of the draw as having the strongest pitching.
Talking with Jim Kaat. He's doing the game tonight on the MLB Network, Yankees against the Red Sox. Jim, you're Brad Ausmus for a moment. The playoffs start tomorrow. Who's your number one pitcher? Who's your game one pitcher?
That's a good question. Michael, what they'll do today is they get all the metrics, who we playing, who's had good success. I think right now for me it would probably be Scherzer because of his track record and because here the guy turns down $144 million and he's putting another Cy Young year together. So I think the way things are going right now, it's probably Scherzer, Price, and Verlander ends up third just because he hadn't been able to. I did a game there a few weeks ago, and he was kind of tweaking his hand position, his mechanics, the control was all over the map. So I say right now he falls to kind of number 3 in that group.
Jim, right now the Mets held on to all of their assets from a starting pitcher standpoint. they have to get another bat. So of the big studs that they have, which one would you be the least likely to give up on outside of Harvey? If he's untouchable, is there anybody else that you just can't part with in that rotation?
I'd have to be honest with the games that we do. I don't follow the Mets on as closely a basis as you guys, but I think in general, if you look at trades, and we'll probably talk about it tonight with Cespedes for Lester, you go back in the history of trades, the team that gets the position player usually comes out ahead. Brolio for Brock, Pappas for Frank Robinson. So, you really have to get, I think, to give up one of your young studs like a Harvey, you have to get a guy that's a near Hall of Fame bat to give up a pitcher like that, because then in the end you have a chance for the position player to be, a better acquisition. But it has to be an awfully good position player.